Hello and welcome to Valuetising. My guest today is Teddy Alexieva, a serial entrepreneur, business coach, and mentor who helped startups raise 2.5 million in funding. Teddy works with entrepreneurs to help them set up and launch their digital businesses systematically and fast to ensure sustainability and growth while having fun in the process. Teddy, welcome to the show.
Welcome, very much welcome.
I'm happy to have you here, and you have so many different skills and stories. Can you tell us a little bit about the story about the 2.5 million raise, which is how I found about you in the first place?
Well, it's a pretty quick one. In 2016, 2017, I was in a transition from being an event manager and a marketer into niching a little bit myself. So I ended up working for one blockchain project and then for another one. So altogether with the teams, we were able to raise the whole amount of 2.5 million euros. Actually, as I always advise my clients, you should be really innovative when you're doing this stuff, and also try to be thinking out of the box is just one of the things. But the other important stuff is just to keep track of everything going on. I mean, you need to know who are the investors in your industry, interested in investing in such companies, getting to know them as early as possible and things like that. So once you have a connection and once you know what you're doing, what are the important ingredients in closing a deal, you're there. I mean, it's not difficult, especially if you're doing everything by the book and you know the right people, you know how to pitch your product or service.
Yeah,
Yes.
but what's that book? What's like that step process that you follow at least?
Well, the first thing is the theme. It was the most important for us, especially in the second startup that I've been working with, because when you have the right team, whatever you're building is possible. Like, it's the people who are doing it, not the other way around. So team is the most important thing. Management, either you have the same values, what's your network, what's your skill set, and it also helps building the things that you want to build in much easier way, because there are quite a lot of tough times. We had months without any income. I was a co-founder there, just to make it clear, but I was so passionate working for them that I wasn't even getting my salary regularly. But that's like bootstrapping. It's a normal thing to happen, especially if you didn't calculate it well the time. You didn't manage the right time to get your finances in any way. So the team is the most important thing for me. Getting a little bit more specific into documents and stuff. The second thing is you need to have your idea validated to some extent. Having traction is a good way to open conversations with investors, because obviously if you're selling this product to somebody, it means that there is something there. At least they will be open for conversations. So good results always result in a good deal.
Yeah.
Another thing is it's pretty common for investors to ask for entrepreneurs and co-founders to be open to learn. And at first I was like, because I was younger, like 5-6 years from now ago, I was younger and I wasn't so eager. My ego was high above in the clouds, and I wasn't eager to learn from those people that much. But during the process, you start to realize that there are certain things and certain ways that you need to leave behind and take their advice, because investors are also interested to have your business really skyrocketing. That it's their money there. So if you're open to listen, there's quite a lot of good advice there. And I think that's the most important at the beginning, especially if you're talking about a small company in the early stages. You need to make sure you have the right team, your product idea is validated, you have traction, you have good execution learning fast, doing fast, failing fast, learning from that as well. And also good connections. Yeah, I think that's the most important.
Interesting. So team, traction, being coachable, so many things. And
Yeah, and you also need to prepare a few documents. But there's quite a lot of people out there who might give you advice on that as well, like the pitch deck, the business plan, the financial projections, one pager, things like that. I mean, they are important for sure. They are. But as long as you don't have a business strategy, how to return this investment, and especially returning not multiplied by 1, by 2, or people are expecting 5, 10, or whatever. But you're the one that is the most incentivized to succeed. So whatever they require is a good one.
yeah. And in your experience, what investors, what do they care most about? What are they really looking for?
They're looking for, according to DocSend, team is the second most open slide in a pitch deck. So definitely team is in the top 3, as I already mentioned. The other thing is business plans, and how whatever you're promising to do, how you can execute on it and really see the results. So they're looking for achievers. The other important thing is also it should be a business with some kind of a market size that could cover different costs and allow the product to skyrocket. So this is important, especially if you've done your research very well and you have the financial projections and you have everything in place. It's much easier, much easier. So they're looking for a good idea, B, the team to execute it, and the numbers.
And your experience, what is the hardest out of those 3? So the idea, the team, and the numbers.
Well, in my experience, in each one of the companies that we were fundraising, also in my own startup, well, every time it's something different, and not only that, but different challenges appear in different periods, which is amazing. Like you can face all of the challenges in every business in different situations when you don't expect them at all. So I think in the case of the first startup that I was working with, a blockchain one, I think it was the team, because we were not quite aligned in our values, as if we were not going in the same direction. You're a family man. You know that if you and your partner are not looking into the same direction, even though you might have different means, ways to achieve your goals, but when you're together, you need to look for some mutual understanding about goals.
Yeah.
And that was a problem at some point. Luckily, they were able to overcome this issue. But the product was not absolutely ready. The validation was weak. So we got some investment, but there was no way for us to have another one. So eventually the company ceased, but I left it much earlier. So I'm not pretty sure what happened after that. So I'm not able to give more on it. As for the second blockchain project, it was actually... the team was great, by the way. We have here local, how I should say, industry experts. We had the best team ever. One of the best marketers, one of the best product managers, one of the best
team of rock stars.
A team of rock stars, definitely. We had a team. The team was perfect. But what we lacked was a little bit more into the validation. And also we spent a little bit more time into looking into the right product and how to build a solution, a little bit more overthinking. So that's one of the lessons that I've learned. You better launch something at 80% and do something about it, see feedback and go back to work, then find whatever needs to be improved. But we've spent a little bit more time into perfectioning, launching. So yeah, we've launched a little bit slower than expected. So we've wasted, let's say, a little bit of time. There was a forward investment. I mean, they had pre-seed and they also closed the seed round after that. Together, we've raised a little bit. I think it was 2 million one of the deals and another 250 at the beginning. So we needed to be really creative back then, and there was some tough times because COVID hit, and everything was kind of messy and chaotic. And then it was the time when we saw that we have big issues in the company culture and what support from the lower levels. And it was really hard for us to get the team back together 6 months later when we were back in the office. There were some issues with the team, but at first everything was okay. So it seems like it wasn't, because the first thunderstorm brought us to some conflicts, and it was difficult. So once we had the validation, it was the right time for us to get back the team, to see who is with us, who is not with us, to retain some passion for long-term investment, because it takes, for us, it took, I think, 9 months before we closed the deal and a few more months before we received the money into the bank account. So nearly a year.
Yeah.
Because 2 million is not so easy to transfer from one place to another without being banned or whatever, because you have a brand new bank account and it sounds suspicious. So we needed to verify from both sides that it's okay, everything is fine.
Yeah.
And it takes some time. And one important note here, with the third startup that I've been working at, I was actually a co-founder there. We found some interesting differences between funds. Sometimes there are funds who don't process the payments right away after signing a contract, meaning, let's say, a week or two.
Yeah.
But sometimes the money comes like in 2-3 months, because it needs several other people to engage, to put their signature in some papers, whatever. And this process might sound like something small, but it's this small stone that could definitely turn your car in the pinch. So,
but is it are they private? What type of investors were they? A crowdfunding or private equity?
VCs.
VC, okay.
Yeah, VC investment. And it was unexpected, but we saw that there are different scenarios and people have different processes. Funds have different processes. So in different situations we had different issues, but it's good that this turbulence learned us how to navigate through the challenges and eventually close those deals. In the case of the second startup that I mentioned with the follow-up investment, we were looking for a specific type of investor, something like institutional investor. I mean, in our case, we needed 2 types of funding. One for operational costs, because they were really high. We needed some working capital as well, which is not fundable by funds. I mean, investors don't want to pay your salary. They want to invest in marketing or whatever channels you're using, B2B sales, whatever, and get their money as soon as possible. Like, they don't want to pay for wages and paychecks, and from paycheck to paycheck. Like, they're not interested in that. We didn't want this money for our salaries, for teammates, but we needed a lot of capital in advance, because it was quite a cash sensitive product idea. And this working capital didn't allow us to go with the standard traditional funding. We needed to look for something innovative. And we came up with a solution to look for funding coming from either a bank, together with the investment, like the traditional investment. So we had we've signed a contract with 2 different deals included in one contract.
Mm-hmm.
The first deal was, imagine something like an overdraft, which allows us to have a loan from the bank and cover our working capital expenses to run the product. But the other side, we had the marketing expenses covered as well, so that we can skyrocket the product. So it really depends on what you're building and what type of investor you should be looking for.
Yeah. So it's one thing that I've heard is start before you're ready. When you're looking for funding, like you really need to start with a lot of time, because what you're saying, it can take almost a year. Or for example, when somebody wants to sell their business, it also it's a lot of time too. So it's better to be prepared as much as possible with your financials and with all those foundations that you were mentioning.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. Definitely, you need to structure the whole process of getting to know them. If you are following different investors on LinkedIn, you always see them, especially those who are well connected. Their advice is always the same: get connected with investors as soon as possible. Don't wait for the thunderstorm to hit you hard and then look for opportunities to fund your business. Like even if you have just a simple idea, you can just put them in your list. A MailChimp, wherever, Google, you're not going to have 1,000 contacts anyway. So just keep track with them, like update them every time something happens. Arrange some meetings online, especially if you can go for offline meeting in a cafe or whatever. If you're going for an event in their place, if they're somewhere abroad, invite them just to hang out, to see each other, because those connections are really, really important. In most cases, what I've seen from other startups here in our area is the same. It's much easier to give your money to somebody you know, to evaluate, to make your due diligence, to whatever you need. You just know this person. Of course, there are scammers. Even if you know a person from both sides, something might happen. But it's much easier if you know each other. So yeah, you should start early on. Make a list of people that are really interested in what you're building. They have the same point of view. Like in most cases, investors have this portfolio strategy written down in their websites. Read it, find similarities, what they're passionate about. Sometimes there are different types of things, like they might have personal interest in sports, for example, and you might be building an app for tracking different key features, like tracking your body type, blood pressure, whatever. And it might be the case that they invest and their vertical investment is the FMCG, for example. But one of them might be interested in sports and they are probably considering jumping on projects in sports. But it's going to be a good gatekeeper for you if you are connected with the right person inside the company, because he's going to vouch for you. So in getting connected, making a list of investors you want to connect with, you're looking for people with similar interests and passions personally. Also, what is their background, what they can support you with, what's their network. And also if they're ready to give some advice, mentoring, get involved a little bit more. And maybe the last thing is what is but that's a little bit more about the fund itself, not the person.
Yeah.
Are they ready for a follow-up investment? Like, could they bridge for the next stage to help you with that? Because some funds are not so well connected with other funds. They cannot make a follow-up investment. They don't have the budget for that. So there are things to consider, but the sooner you start getting connected with those people, the better. 6 months in advance, at least.
Please do. Yes, I love that. Very good advice.
And ask for feedback. I mean,
Okay.
they will receive information from you regularly, so you can ask for feedback from them early on. What do you find interesting? What do you recommend? Like, people like to talk about themselves and their opinion, to share their own opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that they are not only looking to give money, but they also want to be mentors in a way.
Sometimes they want, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
It really depends on the person. But I've seen people who are ready to give an hour or two somewhere sometimes. And it's really important, especially when you're ready with your financial projections and you're already actively looking for investment. They can give you an advice or two, or ask you the right questions that you might be asked, so you can get ready in advance, because those people, they think the same way as the investors you're going to connect with. So they might be like your friends. You might never ask them for money or their fund, but you might be ready to answer whatever question comes on your way.
Yeah, that's interesting. And in terms of because you mentioned team, product, numbers, in terms of product market fit, like I saw this statistic. I don't know how many startups fail because they don't have product market fit, but it's a lot.
Even if it's 99%, it won't be a mistake.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I don't know. What learnings have you found there? Is there anything that you've seen that works better in order to find that product market fit and that idea that can scale?
Well, the first thing you should start with is to change the word order. Like, it's market product fit, not product market fit.
I love that.
But especially in tech, there are quite a lot of engineers who start building products, and they are educated, and their mindset is set up in a way that they are thinking about products and solutions rather than validation. It's like, I have this software and I'm going to look for a market for it. And it really helps if you make just the opposite.
Yeah.
Start with some small hypotheses, 2-3 basic stuff about your target. You have an idea, but you're not pretty sure what it should be like. Start with your idea, write down your hypotheses up to 3. Learn about your customers, how they behave, what's their persona, what they're like, what their needs, and then think about a solution, how to address their needs. So for me, it's a product market product fit. And I think the client-centric approach and the design thinking process is like 30 years old or more. But it's interesting that when we are in tech co-founders are much more. They used to be much more. So there is a tendency of building products before validating the need for them. And that's why a lot of startups used to fail in the past. I think this is a tendency that's going to change with time, because product managers are more and more involved into building products, in being entrepreneurs. And most of those that I've been talking to, they have the right thinking, they have the processes. So it's important to onboard one of those if you're building anything. Yeah.
That's super good. So market product fit. So we start with the mindset. Like, it's not about us, it's about the market.
Oh, it's about us first. What we can do, what our resources, what we like doing, what our passions, interests, values, and things like that. But once we are ready with ourselves and we are ready to build whatever we like to build, we don't have the limiting beliefs of failing, success, and things like that, different doubts, we are ready to build a product. But for me, definitely starts with validation. You need to validate that there is a pain. This pain is painful enough, and it's painful for a lot of people. Otherwise, whatever you're building is so innovative and so not needed. So it's hard. It might be the case that whatever you're trying to validate in the moment and to research the market, it's not the right place. They might be somewhere, maybe it may not be the right target that you're trying. So sometimes it takes a little bit more time to nail down the validation process, the discovery. But I would definitely recommend a few books. One of them is the Mom Test. Mm-hmm. Mom's Test is a great one. And the other one that I recommend is Lean Product Playbook and the Lean Canvas, the Lean methodology as a whole. There's quite a lot of out there tons of articles, courses, digital courses, online paid free. But they are important because once you start to build your own product, you need to switch your thinking into making less mistakes, executing more and more and more. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to pivot. If you don't find validation, but with a few twitches here and there, you might find the right product. So don't stick with your own idea as if it's the only one innovative in the world. Just try different stuff and see what works. If money is the pocket, you're building a business. If money is not in the pocket, you're just a charity.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, but you always look for businesses that give money, but of course also have an impact, right?
Oh, definitely. We have we are so limited here on Earth, and we've done so much for the next generations. I think there's a lot of products that are not needed at all. But it's the world that we are living in. We are, in most cases, especially in the Western world, we are educated to be consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry. So we have a lot of products that we don't need them, basically. But there are certain ones that improve our education. They improve our life tremendously. They have an impact on the environment. They have an impact on children. So, or finances, whatever it is. I strongly believe that blockchain is redefining even job descriptions and the environment in a way that I don't see any equivalent in the past 100 years, let's say. Maybe the internet. Yeah, the internet is something that changed tremendously our world and how we appreciate it, how we understand it, what's our perspective on it. So I think we've learned more in the past 30 years than we've learned in the past 200 years because of the internet and the exchange of knowledge. But the other thing that will disrupt our world is blockchain, because it provides us with immense opportunities to transform the way that now we are doing the stuff that we're doing in financials, in education. One of the startups that I mentioned earlier is I think it's still building credentials on the blockchain. So imagine that you have your diploma somewhere online stored, and it's validated because it's there, and you have 2-3 factor authentication coming from different parties involved, your university, let's say your teachers, you yourself, and you have it everywhere. Because there is a common issue with, let's say, someone from Nigeria, because we had this case as one of our potential customers. Nigerians are sometimes in some countries very familiar being scammers with their diplomas being absolutely fake. And there is this kind of a bad feeling towards, an easy feeling of being a Nigerian and really doing your stuff. And sometimes those people feel bad, especially those ones who are engineers or they want to go to UK or the US and find their job. And people are looking a little bit more suspicious. This might be a scammer or anything. So a solution like this one will help them a lot. And this is a solution like no other for one reason. Of course, you can have security, like very good security, but it's going to cost a lot. But if you do it on a blockchain, what you're paying is just a transfer. So that's one of thousands of solutions we could have there, especially with PSD2, open banking, whatever is going to build, it's going to tremendously change. So I'm definitely looking for impact. Yeah, it's important.
No, go on.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
No, go on.
No, that was it. I'm definitely looking for impact. Like what we were building in our startup where I was a co-founder, it was an application for athletes to improve their mindset. And it changes their perspective. It changes everything they have. you have, imagine a tennis player, a ballet, whatever, and they're investing quite a lot in physical training, and they invest in mindset training, but it's not a priority for them. And if you are able to provide a solution it's much cheaper, but it's a combination between physical and mental training, then you're definitely able to open up your potential, to tap into your full mindset potential, and your physicality is no longer the only thing you rely on. So it's an impactful one. And the girls, my co-founders, they're doing great at the moment, because they managed to get into this target group of between 10 and 16 years old. This is a wannabe star, still not a star, but it's going to be. But it's much easier if you're working with their mindset. You make them being prepared for losing a battle. Let's imagine tennis players, for losing a battle, how to cope with your anger, how to cope with lack of confidence, how to stay focused, to be motivated. Those are important things if you want to succeed. And they're especially important for entrepreneurs. So I believe every entrepreneur must have a mentor or a coach, someone to help him overcome every struggle.
Yeah, because there are so many challenges, and sometimes we don't see, we don't know what we don't know, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's hard. Sometimes you need someone outside of your outside of your average 5 people around, just to oversee the process and say, this little thing is not working. Maybe you should work on yourself as well, because I strongly believe that our business is a mirror image of us, and whatever limiting beliefs you have, they transfer to your business. So working with a coach or a mentor, an advisor personally and inside a startup, the endeavor, a must. You're preventing burnout, losing focus, losing resources, or things that don't work at all.
And today, you work as a business coach. What kind of business or what kind of industries do you work with, or what type of entrepreneurs? What do you love the most?
That's an interesting question. What I love the most? Well, in the moment I'm working with tech startups, everyone who is building a product, either in sports or blockchain, because those are my passions and I have certain understanding about the industry. For example, I'm not able to work in arts because that's a completely different story for me, neither health tech or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I work with tech startups, tech CEOs who want to have a little bit more clarity, limit overthinking, cutting through the bullshit, and have fun. Because whatever endeavor you're involved in, you should have fun in the end. We don't need to take ourselves so serious, and we need to have fun. Yeah. So I'm helping them to see the big picture and all the little steps needed to get forward, to move forward. It's both in business strategy and business processes. Also, I advise them on sales and marketing growth strategies. But I'm just an advisor there. If someone needs anything specific, I'm always referring to other great coaches or consultants I know that will help them. So yeah, I think it's challenging for people to understand once you are in your business. And I saw it firsthand with my own businesses. You definitely lose the big picture, especially if you are a solopreneur. It's difficult to balance between strategy, the whole strategy, and execution. And if you don't have anyone to delegate to automate some processes, and you're not eager to delegate it, even sometimes that's the issue. You're so cluttered with day-to-day tasks that you forgot where you're going, why you're going there, who you're going with, and just you lose motivation and burnout. And it happened to me a few times. So now I'm integrating my own system of processes and try to make it as relevant as possible to the CEOs, because we have different energy levels during the day. We have different characters. So I try to make it as relevant as possible to them, to their case, their interests, passions, and willingness to work, to achieve, and help them grow their companies. I cannot say that it's the right way, but it's the way that works for them. Because the case when I was younger, I started my first startup in 2011. I was reading books that inspired me so much, from leaders that were achieving so this and that and the other thing. And I was so inspired. Yeah, I can do the same. But first of all, it doesn't fit my personality.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, I don't know what were the failures, what brought you there, where I saw it at the moment when I'm reading about you.
It's the worst to compare yourself to others.
Yeah, it was so difficult. And usually nobody, at least in my case, nobody told me how I should get back to myself, see what works for me and what not, and do it in my own way. The authentic self should be in my business. It shouldn't look like Richard Branson's or some local entrepreneur that's building a unicorn in your own place. You have your own way to achieve things. Sometimes it doesn't mean that you need to work. You might be really good at networking and finding the right people to execute for you, to attract them into your team, and they're ready to get involved for a certain percentage or share equity from your company. There are so many different cases, but you need to find what's yours and then proceed further, like move as fast as possible.
I like that. Like, do it your own way.
Yeah, it should be authentic. I really believe in that. Because sometimes just remember your last time when you had a list of tasks to do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like 6 or 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., and you've done nothing. What was the first thought that come to yourself?
I failed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the same, because the same for me. But now, 10 years later, 12 years later, the only thing that I say to myself is, well, that's just a day. Today was not my day of working. Tomorrow is a new day. I'll try it. If not, okay. But if I'm pushing myself too much and I'm not accepting moments of melancholy or just relaxing,
Mm-hmm.
burnout is there. And I'm not a great fan of the push strategy. It's not working for everyone. Well, some people, they can do it. If you can, that's
For
your
a
way.
few years, maybe.
Probably sometimes it might be the first 6 months, and then slowly, gradually, you don't have the energy to improve, to oversee, to focus on the big picture, to look at it, to have a perspective. You're just working on your business, not you're working in your business, not on your business. Yeah.
That's so good. Wow. Yeah. And last time you mentioned you need to have an exit plan for the next 3 to 5 years.
Oh yeah.
It's painful.
Yeah.
Why do you say that? What do you mean by that?
Well, I've mentioned it because with the first startup, we were not ready for an exit strategy. And this was one of the questions that investors asked us at the very first meeting. I remember we were standing there, they were just in front of us. And one of them made something like, "And what's your exit strategy?" And we're like, "What? What kind of exit? We're so passionate about what we're building. We never
We're
thought
just
about."
starting out.
Yeah. Why is he asking us something like that? We don't even know each other. That's the first meeting. And then I thought, being in the shoes of your investor, so the person in front of you, you need to know their perspective as well, because they gave a certain amount of money and they're looking for return in investment. And they want to know how they'll get their money back. And it was really painful for me to learn that investors and founders have different agendas, because at first I thought that they are allies, they're friends. It doesn't mean that they're not, but they have different agenda. You're looking for ways to make it work, but they're looking for ways not only to make it work, but to get their money back as fast as possible. 3 to 5 years, six is like very far from now, very far in the future. Very rarely you could see 10 years. And they need to know what are your plans to either sell the company to a corporation or a bigger startup getting acquired, or you have a plan to fundraise in the next stages. So they definitely need to know how things are going to happen. But the painful thing for me especially was this was my baby. I was working 24/7 for this project, and they were asking me when and how I'm going to leave it or do something about it. Like, and your state of mind is, we're growing, we're doing crazy stuff, we have a mission, a vision, it's so impactful, whatever you're building, it's so important for you. And somebody asks you very early on, what's your exit strategy? But yeah, I've learned it's important. You need to know your cap table, you need to know your stuff, and exit strategy is one of them. You need to have an answer, whatever it is, you need to have an answer, and don't try to lie to them. It's pretty clear when you're lying to your potential investors.
Interesting. And I guess that ties up to don't scale before you're ready.
Oh, yeah. Immature scaling is, I think, one of 4 reasons why startups fail, because you're not thinking on ways to solve your challenges, solve your problems, but you address your problems with money, which is the worst scenario. So when you don't have money, you're innovative in solving different challenges, different issues, and you face them in a different way. Otherwise, imagine you still have no clarity about your market, what's your persona, what's your brand, what's your voice, message, how do you want people to think about your company. You don't have a product ready, but you invest on marketing, and you got this investment opportunity, and let's say you fundraise some money, and of course there are investors who are not so eager to make their due diligence in the right way. So you got the investment. And what happens next? You're so early on and you don't have an idea on how to do that, but you already have the money to solve your problems. So you start investing in a marketing expert, another one, and another one. You invest in some kind of paid ads, you test different channels. You're just basically throwing money out of the window, and that's it. And you don't have the results. So that's why I said in the beginning, you need to have some traction, some validation. So you would know how to use every penny, but try not to solve every problem with money, but creatively thinking, experimenting, testing, getting feedback, iterations, quick iterations, and getting back to the game.
I like that. Creative thinking.
Oh, yeah, you need it. Surround yourself with people who challenge your way of thinking. And I am one of the people in the team, in my company as a co-founder, where I was a co-founder, that was not willing to accept advice, out of the box thinking coming from somewhere, and I wasn't prepared to challenge my thinking. Let's say I was a little bit narrow-minded or stubborn, whatever you choose, and it was devastating for the team. We were not able to move forward because you have the perspective of only 1 or 2 people, which is not enough if you're building something that's so impactful.
Mhm. Awesome. Teddy, if someone wants to work with you, where can they find out more, and how can you help them?
Finding more, I'm one of those people that consults others how not to overthink their product, but my website is not ready for the past 4 months. So if they want to find something, like follow me just on LinkedIn. I'm going to post a lot of content regarding business strategy, fundraising, whatever I have as a knowledge. If you find it interesting, hit me up in the DMs. How I can help? I'm usually trying a few sessions and see if there is a client consultant fit.
Mhm.
And if we like each other, genuinely like personally, we got involved in the whole I got involved in the process of clarifying what should be the business model. Is there something to improve there? Is there something to improve in the processes? Of course, I make some analysis, researches, and help those people understand what are the next steps, which is, by the way, quite motivational. It motivates you if you know where you're going and how you can get there. So yeah, basically that's it. As I said, marketing strategy, business processes, marketing and sales growth strategies. Those are my specialties. So if anyone is interested, hit me up.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're not just a consultant, but a mentor, which is bigger because a consultant has very specific knowledge, but a mentor kind of gives perspective and can connect you to resources and yeah.
Yeah. I also try to use my network and try to grow it in the moment. So I could recommend experts that are knowledgeable. They also have some network. Yeah, I think it's, to the most part, startups or entrepreneurship as a whole, it's like raising a child and you use the help of the whole village. It's much easier when you're not the only one and you're not lonely in this journey. So if you could rely on, let's say, 5 to 10 people, even sometimes you need a push, sometimes you need a shoulder to cry a little bit, whatever you need, or someone's to execute something that you're not so good at. It's really important to have your network to build whatever you're building. It doesn't matter. Maybe wooden chairs.
That's great. Thank you so much for being here, Teddy.
Thank you so much for having me, for inviting me to this wonderful podcast. If you haven't watched the one with Christine about acquiring companies and investing in acquisitions, I definitely recommend. It's wonderful.
If you enjoyed the show, hit the share button and send it over to one fellow marketer or entrepreneur. We work hard to make sure they'll thank you for it. Also, to get featured on the show, go to valuetising.com and apply to become our next guest. Until next time, keep valuetizing.